Hello, this is Mr. Jared, and in this video tutorial, we are going to be 3D modeling this object in SolidWorks. So the first thing I'm going to take note of is where my origin is located. And here I can see that my origin is located on the top of the part, but in the back middle. So it does not say this anywhere for this part, but you can obviously see that it is symmetrical from the left side of the origin to the right side of the origin, which means since it's located way up here in the back, we only need to, rather, 3D model all of the features for one side, and then we can simply just mirror everything else across to the other side. Okay, so the second thing I'm going to take note of is my units. And here I can see my units as IPS. That is why I see a whole bunch of decimal places. So if you haven't already, you can create a new part in SolidWorks. And we're going to make sure our units are in IPS. My computer defaults to that, so I'm ready to go. I'm going to get the sketch tool, and I'm going to be sketching on the right plane. So you have to kind of think through this of looking at it from the side. And it does give you a little side profile here that will help us for this. But what I'm going to be doing first is kind of just doing this rectangular piece and a small little rectangle piece that hangs down here. That's kind of like this, okay? The second thing I'll do is put this hole in, and then afterwards I'll start to build this up. But it's going to be a bunch of small sketches, so just follow with me here and you'll kind of understand why I'm doing it the way I'm doing it. So from my origin, I just got my line tool, and I'm just simply going to kind of sketch around, just sketch out that shape that I see, and then I'll go ahead and dimension it. So make sure that you drew all your lines horizontal or vertical. If you do not have horizontal and vertical lines here, please change those relations so that they are. And then we can simply start to dimension this. So the top is 0.75, as you can see in the picture. From the origin down to the first corner here, that is going to be 1.75. Then it says from here down to the very bottom is 0.5. Okay, and you're left with this blue line. So I will pull this back over because this confuses a lot of people. The distance right here, so how far over that little line is actually 0.38. So I can tell that because there's an arrow here pointing to this edge. There's an extension line coming off this other vertical line with an arrow pointing in. Now, some of you might have thought that it's 0.5 in here, but the 0.5 is a vertical distance because it is in line with all of this other dimensional arrows, okay, or these dimensional arrows. So this 0.38, I guess whoever made this picture could not fit it in here. That's why they put it outside of the part. And so the 0.38 here actually indicates the measurement for this line, okay? So 0.38. And you can see that vertical line now is fully defined. So now that part is all defined, we can go ahead and go to our Features tab and hit Extrude. And keeping in mind that I am working in the middle, I'm only going to work to the right here, okay? And then I'll mirror everything over to the left. So our overall width is 2.88, but since we're only drawing half of that, we are going to divide this by 2. Okay, so it's going to be 1.44. All right, now that I have that back piece, we are going to place that countersink hole on the front of this. You can do this in several different ways. Some of you will just use the hole wizard right away. Others will put a sketch and put a dot. Since I have probably shown you in class other ways to do this, I'm going to do it the way that I think a lot of students forget that they can do it, okay? So that is going to be making the sketch first. So I'm going to make a sketch, and I'll sketch on this front face. And here is the spot where we're going to put the center point. And when I say that a lot of students forget this, I also forget it sometimes because we mainly 3D model with all of the shapes. We forget that you can actually put a point somewhere. Okay, so I'm going to use this sketch point, and it's simply just a dot. Okay, so we're just going to put that in, and then I'm going to dimension that dot. So from the center point over, that is going to be 0.75. And I know it's going to be 0.75 because it says right here that from the center of one hole to the center of the other hole is 1.5 inches. So if this is centered on the shape, that's going to be half of that. So half of 1.5 is 0.75. Okay, and then from the top down to that hole, that is actually 0.56. 0.56, odd number there, 0.56. Now that point is fully defined, I'm going to hit the return button, and that gave me the center point for my actual hole. So here I can go over to the Features tab and use that hole wizard. And this is a countersink. You can read it there. It says countersink for 3/8 flathead 82 machine screw. So on my hole types, I want to make sure that I'm on the second option. Or if your picture is different than mine, you just need to find the one that says countersink. Here we want to set the standard to ANSI inch. Okay, we want the flathead screw 82. The 82 represents the angle, the degrees of the flathead screw. So I'm just reading what it says on the picture. And then we need for a countersink for a 3/8. Okay, 3/8. So you're going to set your size to 3/8. And you might have a huge list here, but if you scroll down, you'll find 3/8. Okay, the fit is going to be normal. We don't want a box for show custom sizing. We want the end condition to be through all. Okay, you do not want anything else. So we want this to go through the entire shape. And sometimes I've noticed that SolidWorks has these boxes down here defaulted as being checked. We do not want those to be checked. So you want nothing in the options. Now for our position, it's going to ask us for a 3D sketch. So if I select this button for 3D sketch, I can simply drag my countersink in here, and you see it will lock on right to where that point was. And now I have a countersink that's located there. So I'll hit the green check, and you can see it instantly puts in my countersink for me. Okay, so that is one way of doing that. The other way of doing that is putting in the hole first and then going back and editing the 3D sketch to dimension where this center point is. So it's the same thing, same amount of steps either way. It's just whatever you want to do first. Okay, but now we have that in there. So now we can kind of work on that angled piece that comes down here. Okay, so for that, we are going to be sketching on the side of this. And I'm going to hit a Control-8 so it rotates over. And we are not going to do the circular portion of it yet. We're just going to do, I guess, the arm, the part that kind of connects down, that holds that circle part. So I'm going to use my line tool, and I can tell you that it's going to come down here, it's going to curve back, and then come up again. Okay, so I'll actually start at this bottom corner, and I'll come down at this angle, and I'll hit escape on my keyboard, get my line tool again. And since we want this to connect, we need to have a closed-in shape here. So I'll go back to the point that I started with and just kind of trace to this corner, go up a ways, and I want to make sure that I do not click on this yellow dot. Okay, that yellow dot is the midpoint of this line. So I don't want to connect it to that because that is a relation that I'll have to delete later on. So I'm just going to click somewhere up here on that line and then bring this down. All right, I'll hit escape again. Now I can tell you that both of these lines are parallel. So I'm going to select both, holding in Shift and select parallel. And then I can actually draw this bottom portion. So to close this off, we need it to be the same curvature as what it's going to hold. To do that, a lot of people would use the circle tool and trim the outside, which is perfectly fine. But you can also just use the 3-point arc tool. Simply click on this point, drop down to your other point, and kind of just bend this in towards this direction. Now we have our center point right here that we are going to actually dimension. And in order to dimension that center point, if I bring this picture back over, you're actually going to have to look at this small picture here. So you can see this small picture shows how far down this center point is, and that's based off of the countersink center, and also how far forward it is from the back of the part. Okay, then as far as the arc goes that we did, it has a diameter down here of 1.12. We're obviously only working with radius, so we need to have half of that. Okay, so those are the three measurements that we're going to be working with. So I'm first just going to position this. So I'll select my center point, select the back half of this, and coming forward it says it's 1.75. Center point, again, from the original dot that we drew up here, which is the center of that countersink. Okay, so the location down, I clicked on the wrong thing. The location down is actually 1.82. Okay, and then the size of this is going to be 1.12 divided by 2. Okay, so it'll make it much smaller. Now that defines that arc, but it does not define these two angled lines. And that's because these need to be tangent to this angled line, or this curved line. So I'm going to select the top one first, hold in shift and select my arc, and I'll make that tangent. Okay, and you can see it's going to set that now that it's not overlapping. If I do that again to the bottom, tangent, it's now fully defined. Okay, so from here I can go to my Features tab and hit Extrude, and I want to make sure I'm going the correct direction, so it doesn't go out past, it actually goes back towards the center of this. So you might have to flip your direction. It has a thickness of 0.5. Okay, so now we have the connecting arm. So from here we're going to do that circular front, and there's different ways you could do this. I know a lot of students might make a mid-plane. They might make a plane that goes right through the middle of this so that they can extrude back either side. But I'm going to show you a little bit of a different way that uses some simple math, okay, but it's also something that might be helpful for you later on. So if I get the sketch tool, and if I just sketch on this outside, and I go to my side view, so Control 8, here I can move my mouse over this arc with the circle tool, and the center point pops up, and I can just draw out. So I now have my complete circle that's the exact same size. Okay, mine is fully defined because I made sure I clicked on an endpoint here so it's connected. So if yours isn't, just drag it back and forth until it connects. And then I'm also going to do my inside circle. So right off that same center point. And here I have to dimension the inside. So it says the hole is a diameter of 0.5. But now that I have this shape, when I go to the Features tab and hit Extrude, okay, obviously I'm only extruding one direction. What a lot of people forget is this says direction 1. There's also direction 2 down here. So we can set two different measurements. So we do have to do a little bit of math, but it's not hard math at all. So if this arm piece is 0.5, and it says the overall width of this is 0.62, the difference there, if you do this minus this, is 0.12. Okay, so if you think about it like it's 12, and you divide 12, it's 6. So we have 0.06 hanging out on this side, 0.06 hanging out on that side. Okay, so I'll help you, or I'll walk you through this a little bit. Coming out this way, I'm going to write 0.06. I'll select this little tiny rectangle or this square for direction 2. And here I need that 0.5 of the arm thickness plus 0.06 on the other side. So if you can't do that, you can just type in plus 0.06, but I'm sure you understand it's 0.56. Okay, so now when I hit the green check, now I have that hanging out and it's even on both sides. So I know a lot of you would make a mid-plane and do a mid-plane extrusion, but this is a different way that you can also do that. Okay, so we almost have everything done on this side. We do need to do some fillets. So let's be on our Features tab, and I'll hit the Fillet tool. And this curve's right in here, so that's going to be my first one. And that curve is 0.38. Okay, and it's just this line right here. And I'll hit the green check. Okay, now I'm going to go back to the fillets again, and here I'm going to do a lot of rounds. Some people do this at the end. You can do it now, it's fine. This is 0.06, and anywhere you see in that picture that it's curved, it is rounded. So that's going to be this edge. It's going to be this top piece here, this whole line that's coming down, and then on the inside it's the same thing. So that whole line. And then it is also curved around this little donut shape or circle. So if you zoom in, you want to select in there and rotate around to the other side and select the other inside. Now I have seen on some students' computers that every once in a while it gives them an error when they're trying to do these fillets. And what you have to do, or what you may have to do, is just take it in small pieces. So you might have to do only 3 of these edges, add another fillet, and do the rest of them. And I did forget one here. I apologize. There is this vertical line as well. that gets filleted there. Okay, we'll hit the green check. All of those edges should be smooth. Notice it is not rounded over on the backside because I don't know what this shape is, but it almost looks like a toilet paper holder or something like that. And it's only sanded on the front. The back side would be flat up against the wall. Okay, so everything here is now good. Here we can go up to the Features tab and Mirror. And for the mirror face or plane, we're going to click this inside piece, which is also the plane that cuts right through the middle, which is the right plane. Okay, now Features to Mirror. What I like to do for Features to Mirror is hit this drop down. And instead of trying to click on the different parts here, I make sure I just go right down my list and click on anything I want to mirror. Okay, sometimes you have to double click. So I should have all of these. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I've got 6 features out here. I'm all good. You might have more if you had to do more fillets than me. Then once you hit the green check, this should mirror everything over. If it missed something, just do another mirror and make sure you got that selected this time around. Okay, so that looks like it's all good. Let's change our material and see what we have. So this is gray cast iron. So we'll actually have to hit Edit Material. Scroll down and go into our iron folder and gray cast iron. Make sure you do not select the one that says SN. So it's just the gray cast iron. Apply and close. And let's evaluate and see our mass properties. So we should get 1.53 pounds. Your center of mass should be 0 for X, a negative 1.39 for Y, and a positive 0.72 for the Z. If you got that, you can save it, move on to the next one. If you didn't, please try to problem solve and find out where you went wrong.